When was the last time you felt true joy? Without guilt? Not relief, not distraction, not pleasure disguised as peace. I mean joy, unapologetic, radiant, rebellious joy. The kind that breaks through grief like a sunbeam through a prison wall. In a world that glorifies suffering, that rewards burnout, hustle, and stoic silence. Joy has become an endangered emotion. But what if joy is not the reward, but the resistance? What if choosing joy in the face of despair is the most powerful act of rebellion you'll ever make? Across ancient teachings, spiritual paths, stoic reflection, and even modern psychology, one truth keeps emerging. Joy is not what you feel when life is perfect. It's what you awaken when your soul remembers who you are. So I ask you now, what if joy isn't naive? What if it's sacred? What if, in a tired and fearful world, joy is your sword? Stay with me. The next few minutes may just return to you something you didn't know you'd lost. The freedom to feel alive again. A quiet revolution. In a world addicted to outrage, silence is radical. And in a world drenched in fear, joy is rebellion. Joy is not naive. It is not ignorant of the world's darkness. It is the fierce decision to keep your light on in spite of it. We are told that to be serious is to be heavy. To be wise is to be weary. But ancient wisdom across cultures whispers something deeper. That joy is not the absence of suffering. It is the courage to dance in the fire of it. The Stoics understood this. Though often misread as emotionless, they weren't anti-joy. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future." Joy to the Stoics was serenity found within, regardless of storms without. Modern psychology confirms this. Dr. Barbara Fredrickson's Broaden and Build theory shows how positive emotions like joy expand our awareness, boost resilience, and spark creativity. Joy doesn't just feel good, it helps us become capable. Spiritual traditions echo this truth. In Sufism, joy is the perfume of the soul. In Buddhism, it is one of the 4 divine abodes, mudita, or sympathetic joy. In Christianity, joy is a fruit of the spirit, inseparable from peace. So what is joy really? It's not a smile slapped over sorrow. It's not toxic positivity. It's a quiet revolution, a vow to remain human in a dehumanizing world. To feel, to laugh, to love. To celebrate beauty in the face of suffering is not denial. It's defiance. Joy is not weakness. It is sacred strength. The myth of deserved joy. There is a lie we've inherited, passed down in whispers and reinforced by culture. That joy must be earned. That we must suffer enough, work hard enough, heal fully enough, before we are allowed to feel light. This myth poisons the soul. It tells the weary to wait. It teaches the broken to prove their worth before receiving rest. But joy is not a trophy. It is not reserved for the perfect, the healed, or the enlightened. It is a birthright. And in truth, the ones who suffer the most often need it the most. The Stoics spoke often of the internal nature of freedom. Epictetus taught that while we cannot control what happens to us, we can choose how we meet life. This choice is where power lives. And joy is that choice in motion. Modern trauma research backs this up. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, in The Body Keeps the Score, shows how trauma disconnects us from pleasure and joy. But through practices of embodiment, mindfulness, and safe connection, we begin to remember joy. Not because life has gotten easier, but because we've stopped believing we must earn our light. Across spiritual traditions, joy appears not as reward, but as presence. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that the wise find joy within themselves. The Tao Te Ching speaks of stillness and contentment as the signs of a balanced soul. In Jewish mysticism, it is said that joy breaks all boundaries. You don't have to justify your joy. You only have to receive it, even if you are grieving, even if you are healing. Joy does not demand perfection, only permission. The armor joy breaks through. We build walls to survive. Armor made of irony, sarcasm, cynicism. We tell ourselves it's safer to expect nothing, feel nothing, hope for nothing. Because hope, when crushed, becomes pain. And joy, when stolen, leaves a wound. So we choose numbness. We call it strength. But beneath that cold shell, the soul aches for warmth. Joy shatters this armor, not with force, but with tenderness. It pierces through apathy like sunlight breaking through a locked room. Suddenly we remember. We were not born to be unfeeling. We were born to feel deeply and live fully. This is the secret most forget. Joy is not a luxury, it is medicine. In Stoic thought, Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. And when we choose joy, even briefly, we tint our souls with the color of possibility. In trauma therapy, this is known as resourcing. Moments of joy, however small, anchor the nervous system. They allow the body to feel safety again. A warm cup of tea, a child's laughter, the golden hush before dawn. These aren't distractions, they're lifelines. In Buddhist psychology, joy is cultivated to offset suffering. Thich Nhat Hanh taught that sometimes your joy is the source of your smile, but sometimes your smile can be the source of your joy. Even smiling gently cracks the armor, and over time the armor falls away. Not because we've been conquered, but because we've healed enough to no longer need it. The rebellion of joy lies here, not in pretending all is well, but in allowing ourselves to feel goodness, even when all is not. Joy in the midst of suffering. How can joy and suffering coexist? Is it not a contradiction, almost a betrayal, to feel lightness in the midst of pain? Yet, history and spirituality offer us a profound answer. Joy is not the opposite of suffering, it is its companion. The two dance together in the human experience. The Stoics didn't seek to avoid hardship. Marcus Aurelius himself faced war, illness, and personal loss. But he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, suffering can be the path to a deeper, more resilient joy. Psychology agrees. Research on post-traumatic growth shows that many people find new meaning, purpose, and joy because of their suffering, not in spite of it. Pain opens a door to transformation when we allow it to. Spiritual traditions echo this truth. The Christian concept of the dark night of the soul is a painful passage toward divine union and joy. In Hinduism, the god Shiva embodies destruction and creation, reminding us that from the ashes of loss, new joy is born. Indigenous teachings see suffering as part of the sacred cycle of life and renewal. Joy and suffering is not about pretending. It is about embracing the full spectrum of life with courage and grace. It is the quiet laughter that breaks through tears, the deep breath taken between storms, the moment of peace found in the eye of chaos. This kind of joy is rebellion against despair. It is a radical choice to affirm life, even when it hurts. To say, "I am here, I am still whole." Cultivating joy is a practice of resistance. Joy is not a passive feeling, it's an active, revolutionary practice. In a world that profits from fear, anger, and division, choosing joy is a quiet act of defiance. To cultivate joy means to reclaim your power over your inner landscape. It means nurturing habits, rituals, and mindsets that feed your soul, not your anxiety. The Stoics called this prohairesis, the faculty of choice, the power to decide your attitude regardless of circumstance. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Choosing joy is exercising this ancient wisdom daily. Modern science echoes this. Neuroscience shows that practices like gratitude, mindfulness, and loving-kindness meditation rewire our brains toward positivity. Dr. Rick Hansen calls this taking in the good, building mental pathways that strengthen resilience. Spiritually cultivating joy aligns us with the flow of life itself. In Taoism, joy arises naturally when we live in harmony with the Tao, the way. In the Psalms, joy is a wellspring that sustains through hardship. You make known to me the path of life. In your presence there is fullness of joy. Joy is a practice of presence, showing up fully to life, even its imperfections. It's in the morning sunlight on your skin, the taste of your favorite food, the smile of a stranger. These small moments are seeds of rebellion against a culture of distraction and despair. When we cultivate joy, we build inner sanctuaries, spaces where despair cannot reach. This is how joy becomes more than a feeling. It becomes a fortress. The social power of joy. Joy is contagious. It ripples through communities like a secret revolution, transforming not just the individual but the collective. In ancient times, joy was woven into rituals, festivals, and communal gatherings, sacred spaces where people celebrated life's blessings despite hardship. The Stoics understood the importance of community in cultivating virtue and joy. Seneca wrote, "One of the most beautiful qualities of true friendship is to understand and to be understood." Joy flourishes in connection, in shared laughter, and mutual support. Modern psychology confirms this social power. Studies show that positive emotions like joy increase prosocial behavior, empathy, and cooperation. Communities grounded in joy tend to be more resilient in crisis and more creative in problem-solving. Spiritual traditions reinforce the communal nature of joy. In Christianity, joy is a fruit of the Spirit meant to be shared. In Indigenous cultures, joy in ceremony strengthens the bonds between people and the earth. In Buddhism, the practice of mudita, sympathetic joy, encourages rejoicing in others' happiness. But in a fractured digital age, joy is also a radical act of presence. Sharing genuine joy counters isolation, cynicism, and the social loneliness that so many feel. When we embody joy, we invite others to remember their own light. We become beacons, signaling that despite all darkness, life can still be celebrated. Joy, therefore, is not just personal, it's revolutionary. It builds bridges, heals wounds, and inspires hope. Joy is the ultimate rebellion. In a world that profits from pain, division, and despair, joy is a radical act. It is the ultimate rebellion against the forces that seek to dull our spirits and divide our hearts. To choose joy is to reclaim your sovereignty. It is to say no to cynicism, apathy, and fear. It is to declare that your light will not be extinguished. Ancient wisdom teaches us this truth across time and cultures. Joy is not frivolous, it is sacred. It is a wellspring of strength, resilience, and love. The Stoics remind us that our power lies in our inner fortress, our mind, our spirit. Marcus Aurelius urged us to look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if you will ever dig. Joy bubbles up when we dig deep, past the noise, the trauma, the despair. Science confirms what sages have known. Joy nourishes the body, calms the mind, and connects us to others. It is a source of healing and transformation. Spiritually, joy is the song of the soul. It is the spark that ignites compassion, creativity, and courage. So in these turbulent times, let joy be your rebellion. Celebrate the small wonders, laugh loudly, love fiercely, light a candle in the darkness and hold it high. Because joy is not just a feeling, it is a revolution. And it starts with you. In a world that thrives on fear, choosing joy is a revolutionary act. Not the surface-level smile, not the forced optimism, but the deep, unshakable joy that rises from the soul even when the sky is dark. This joy is your birthright. This joy is your protest. So protect it, practice it, share it. Let your joy be your rebellion against despair. If this message resonated, if it reminded you of the light that still lives within you, then don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to Luminous Soul, like this video to feed the algorithm with light, and comment below, what does joy as rebellion look like in your life? Let's flood the world with something it's forgotten. The quiet, radiant power of people who choose joy anyway. Join the movement, reclaim your joy, because joy is how we win.